This past weekend, the first two competitive Pokemon Go tournaments of the Might and Mastery meta were held. The first was in Fortaleza, Brazil, and the second was in Vancouver, Canada. Due to how close these tournaments were to the Might and Mastery updates, this was a hybrid meta. Any Pokemon that received new attacks, those new attacks were not eligible for this meta. However, Pokemon that had buffs to existing attacks, those attacks were eligible. So this weekend proved to be a one-time unique glimpse into a section of the Might and Mastery meta. For day 2 in Vancouver, the usage, there was a lot of familiar faces, with Pokemon like Dugong, Azumarill, and Drapion topping the charts of day 2 usage. However, it was a unique core of Golisopod and Steelix that completely took both metas by storm, with Golisopod and Steelix duo winning both Fortaleza and Vancouver, and also achieving a 4th place finish at Vancouver. So today, I'm going to be showcasing some of the best games from the Vancouver Regional Championships due to the fact that Fortaleza was unfortunately not streamed, featuring SS Thorne and Rise to the Occasion, who both ran the identical team built around Steelix and Golisopod. The first match we'll be taking a look at is featuring SS Thorne and Ashton Ash. Ashton Ash was the 2nd place finisher at the North American International Championships, and the leads are set. Shadow Jumpluff for SS Thorne and Shadow Drapion for Ashton Ash. In this game, SS Thorne does have the Golisopod in the back, and the Golisopod looks to have quite a bit of play against that backline if it's aligned into the Dugong. An Aerial Ace bait is enough to grab a shield from the Drapion, as a Shadow Acrobatics would inflict massive damage. Thorne now very comfortable just taking a shield advantage. Ashton Ash gets the double up, so Thorne more than happy just to let the Jumpluff go. And now he gets to send in Gastrodon. There is going to be a pivot out into Azumarill, and baiting out the Azumarill is honestly very nice for Thorne, as now Golisopod looks to be very deadly in the back. Earth Power does get the defense drop. That is a low % chance of occurring. Azumarill goes for the Play Rough. That does quite a lot of damage, and now Golisopod hits the field. Golisopod immediately met with a Play Rough. We are going to see Thorne commit the shield, and now Thorne can look to dramatically overfarm before firing off some energy. We're going to see a switch into the Drapion. Drapion, nice snipe by Ashton Ash, able to force the final shield. Back-to-back moves for Golisopod means Ashton Ash is unable to shield here, so he is forced to let it go. Ashton Ash has a shield remaining, but his final Pokemon, Dugong, is going to be completely walled by Golisopod. Dugong is an absolute powerhouse in day 2 usage at this tournament, as it was on almost every team. But against Golisopod, due to the bug water typing, it just feels like a complete liability. X-Scissor is going to be shielded. Ashton Ash desperately trying to preserve the Dugong. Golisopod was down a shield in this matchup, but it is still absolutely crushing Dugong. Debuffed X-Scissor is going to connect. Dugong now very, very low, and the icing on the cake, the Icy Wind catch onto Gastrodon. Gastrodon able to hang on. We're going to see a Body Slam catch onto the Azumarill. Ashton Ash doing what he can to try and fight back in this game, but unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough. Golisopod re-hits the field, fires off the X-Scissor, and Golisopod completely took over that endgame, and Thorne takes the 1-0 advantage. These sets are best of 3, and in Game 2, Thorne leading the Golisopod now into Diggersby. Part of what makes Golisopod so deadly is the fact that it's a Shadow Claw user that beats Diggersby in all even shield scenarios. This updated move, Aqua Jet, with a few double resisted Shadow Claws, has the ability to 2-hit KO. So this move, as long as the Diggersby is very XL, will not be enough to knock out. So a very high level Diggersby can survive, but a second Fire Punch is something that Golisopod can survive as well. So Golisopod, we're now going to see a simultaneous switch out, both trainers wanting to get an energy advantage. Shadow Drapion sent in by Thorne, and Azumarill for Ashton Ash. And the final Pokemon in the bag is actually going to be that Dugong. Dugong has a positive matchup against Gastrodon, so that's not great news for SS Thorne. However, the good news for SS Thorne is that he preserved the Golisopod. The Golisopod is still around, and therefore can be a nuisance to Dugong. Very nice CMP tie here by Thorne, denying the energy unless Ashton Ash is going to give the shield back. Thorne studying the team sheet here, and he's going to preserve this Drapion. Now we're going to see a switch as Dugong hits the field. Dugong immediately met with a crunch. Ashton Ash opting to let this go, and now A debuff applies from the crunch, and Gastrodon hits the field. Gastrodon has a negative matchup against Dewgong in all even shielding scenarios, but with this massive disparity in health, now Gastrodon is completely in the driver's seat. That defense drop from the crunch was very clutch as well, able to force a shield from the Dewgong. Dewgong going for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind is going to connect, and it does actually end up being a double CMP tie. Body Slam is going to land, Azumarill hits the field, Drapion is going to get a full farm down, and there's just no health remaining on any of Ashton Ash's Pokemon. So Drapion is going to get the farm down and exit with the crunch. No bubbles need to be hit here, and SS Thorne is going to take the 2-0 series win. The next match we'll be taking a look at is Rise to the Occasion versus XjeraldX. Again, Rise and Thorne both running the identical team of 6. Now in this game, Rise is actually opting to leave the Golisopod on the bench and instead has Steelix in the back. Steelix looks incredible into Gerald's team, having dominant matchups against 5 of the 6 Pokemon. The only thing it has to worry about is Gastrodon. So, for Rise, switch advantage would be quite nice here, or if he's able to potentially lure out the Gastrodon, then Steelix would be able to sweep. The Dewgong mirror is all about setup, and Rise is going to tank the energy, save his own, and send in the Gastrodon. Gastrodon now going to be immediately debuffed. Gerald is forced to send in his own Gastrodon, and this is exactly what Rise was hoping for. Rise knows that the Gastrodon has very neutral play into this entire team, with the exception of Dewgong. So, if the Dewgong's on the lead, it's highly likely that if a Gastrodon isn't back, then his Gastrodon save switch will bait out Gerald's. And this, as long as he can get rid of the Gastrodon, will allow his Steelix to completely run away with the game. After the first Icy Wind debuff has been applied, Earth Power will not be enough to knock out Gerald. More than happy to let this go, but he's about to get brutally swept by Shadow Steelix. Shadow Steelix hits the field, and it is running the Breaking Swipe Psychic Fangs moveset. This is the moveset that's needed to beat Drapion. It might sound counterintuitive that not running a ground-type charge move is how you beat a Pokemon weak to ground, but it's all about pacing. If an Earthquake is shielded, then Drapion is so far ahead in terms of energy that it very comfortably beats Steelix. Where with Breaking Swipe's pacing and ability to hit for neutral means that Shadow Steelix beats Drapion in all even shielding scenarios. And now Gerald, at this point, has no ability to win this game. He sends in the Dewgong, Psychic Fangs is just going to debuff more and more and more. Unfortunately, a rare miscount from Rise, the Drill Run is reached, it KOs, and now he's going to need an Ice Shard down. He gets the Ice Shard down of the Dewgong, and the Drapion as well, to clutch a very close game. So he's able to take the 1-0 advantage, and in game number 2, now he's benching the Steelix and bringing back that Golisopod. And Golisopod absolutely destroys Gerald's backline. Gerald has Gastrodon and Dewgong, both of which are completely destroyed by the Bug Water type. Gastrodon is going to commit a shield on an X-Scissor, and now we're going to see a safe switch into Dewgong. Dewgong immediately shielding up the Earth Power, so Gerald wanting to keep his Dewgong as healthy as possible, but Rise has so much stored energy on the Gastrodon that he's now able to make it to another Earth Power, and Dewgong's energy is instantly invalidated as Golisopod hits the field. Golisopod will immediately be debuffed, but the energy from the Dewgong is just so useless in this matchup. Rise could have thrown right away, but instead he wants to exit this matchup with residual energy because he knows Charjabug will be switching back in. Aqua Jet is going to connect, Golisopod firing off another Aqua Jet, and Gerald's in a very difficult spot where all of his remaining fast moves into the Golisopod are going to be resisted. This Golisopod is heavily debuffed, so when Dewgong hits the field, Rise is going to switch out into the Gastrodon just to reset the debuff, so that way Golisopod is more powerful in the endgame. Body Slam is reached, down goes Dewgong, the battle of the Gastrodons in the endgame, but now Dewgong hits the field, and at this point Gerald knows there is no longer a way to win this game. Gerald will go for the bait, but a bait here is completely irrelevant. It will not affect the outcome of this game. In even shielding scenarios, Dewgong will emerge victorious, and there's still that Golisopod as well. Golisopod just incredibly good at invalidating the energy, and now a last-second Earth Power fired off by this debuffed Gastrodon, but Dewgong does not care. It farms down, and Rise takes the 2-0 series win. The next featured matchup, SS Thorne versus Meteorfallian, and it's the Dream Lead, Shadow Steelix into Emolga, and Meteorfallian ran a line that is triple weak to Shadow Steelix, so Thorne is now at a massive advantage. Thorne is going to immediately apply a Psychic Fangs defense drop, send in Dugong to absorb the energy, and he is going to have the Golisopod in the back, which is going to do great into Meteorfallian's team as long as it avoids that Emolga. And we already know the Emolga is going to be completely shut down by Shadow Steelix. Drill Run is going to connect, massive damage thanks to that Psychic Fangs debuff. Azumarill will return fire with a Play Rough, but that's very okay for Dugong. A quick switch into Emolga. Meteorfallian knows this Emolga is completely useless throughout the course of this game, so he is going to let it go. Dugong is going to make it to one final charge attack, and Meteorfallian just has to let this go. So the Emolga gets completely KO'd. Dugong, there was so much value here, and now when Sableye hits the field, SS Thorne will be in a terrific position. Sableye will be able to outpace here, but Steelix still has a lot of HP, so he can very comfortably tank the foul play, and now he's going to go for the double resisted Psychic Fangs. With 2 shields remaining, Meteorfallian calls that it's the Psychic Fangs, but now it's going to be debuffed for the remainder of this match unless it switches out. And if it switches out, that's just going to feed a bunch of energy to the Golisopod. We're going to see an Ice Beam reached by the Azumarill, and SS Thorne with the perfect energy awareness. He knows that's not going to be the nuke move of Play Rough. And now, with 2 shields remaining, Meteorfallian is just completely running out of options. Golisopod farming up more and more energy. SS Thorne knows that he is very close to the back-to-back moves, and he actually decides not to throw them when he can just farm all the way down and take the win that way. So he now moves to 1-0 in this best of 3 series. In game number 2, he is actually going to leave both members of this core on the bench. So he's running Shadow Drapion, Dugong, and Gastrodon, and he makes a devastating catch of an Ice Beam bait onto Dugong, where it is double resisted. Dugong going to be met with the Shadow Sableye. Thorne throwing on alignment here very intentionally. If he tried to throw on good timing, the Sableye could have outpaced and made a Power Gem first. And now Thorne more than happy to let this through. This is a debuff Power Gem. It does huge damage, but thanks to the debuff he applied first, he actually gets to another Icy Wind and is able to defeat the Sableye and win switch advantage. Drapion is going to take the farm down. Drapion's so good into so many things on Thorne's team, but it can't do much against Gastrodon. Gastrodon so strong into that Azumarill Drapion core, and that's part of why this team had so much success, is Steelix did amazingly into the Azumarill Drapion Dugong trio, and for the Azumarill Drapion part of it, if the Steelix didn't feel like it had a comfortable matchup, Gastrodon could also have neutral play into both the Azumarill and the Drapion. Drapion very comfortable no shielding here, going to make one final Aqua Tail. Meteorfallian with the no shield, but 2 shielded Gastrodon just cannot lose. Thorne with the turn weight to force a simultaneous KO. That's a very nice high level play from Thorne, but he knows with his Gastrodon, there is no losing this game too, and he advances further in the tournament. The next matchup we're going to be taking a look at, we are back to rise to the occasion, this time versus NighttimeClasher. So these two are actually teammates, and it's a great lead from Rise, leading Gastrodon into the Drapion. The safe switch Diggersby answered with Dugong, and everything is looking very good so far for Rise. Rise going to be hit with these Scorching Sands. No Scorching Sands debuff comes through. It is a 30% chance, and Rise does have that Golisopod in the back. So, by bringing the Diggersby, NighttimeClasher was maybe hoping to catch that Steelix, but instead, no Steelix to be found, and instead, 3 water types being brought by Rise to the occasion. So, very nice team composition here, expecting the Diggersby and being able to hard punish it, no matter where it got aligned. Drapion is going to hit the field. Drapion looking for a farm down, no farm down. We will see a catch onto the Azumarill, catching the Icy Wind bait. But now that Azumarill is debuffed, he's going to bring in the Golisopod. Golisopod not going to be particularly strong into Azumarill. This is kind of the one awkward matchup for Golisopod. But because the Azumarill is debuffed, the Azumarill just really doesn't have the same damage output that it typically would. So Golisopod, although, you know what? For me saying it doesn't have a good matchup here, it's taken a lot of damage. My goodness. He is going to farm up to the Aqua Jet, trying to go for the CMP tie. NighttimeClasher doesn't throw right away. The Aqua Jet is going to land. There's a switch into Drapion. Drapion cannot farm down, so Rise is very comfortable staying in to force the energy. And now Gastrodon re-hits the field. Gastrodon just so devastating at shutting down Drapion. We will see a shield of the Crunch. NighttimeClasher going to make one final charge attack here. It is going to be the Aqua Tail. Rise with the no shield. Rise is going to get the full farm down. NighttimeClasher, all the shields in the world, but he never got a chance to use them. And Rise takes game number 1 thanks to that triple water team with Golisopod. For game number 2, he brings out the Steelix and it's led into Emolga. The safe switch into Feraligatr and a devastating catch of a Hydro Cannon onto Golisopod. This core in positive alignment is just nightmare fuel for opponents to try and work through. Golisopod, thanks to the sneak that it got as it caught, able to outpace, but even if it couldn't outpace, it does win the CMP tie over Feraligatr. Feraligatr did shield up the first. NighttimeClasher going to try and make a play for switch advantage, but there is that CMP tie we talked about. NighttimeClasher double shielding for switch. And now, Rise could honestly let this go, because Steelix, if it's up a shield, is not bad into the Annihilate that's in the back. He sends in Jumpluff looking for a farm down. NighttimeClasher aggressively pivots into the Emolga, and that is just going to cost him the game, as Steelix gets a Breaking Swipe debuff. And these acrobatics, they are single resisted, so they will add up over time, but due to that debuff, they're not going to hit as hard as they typically would. He is going for a full farm down. NighttimeClasher now just realizing there is no way to win this game. Annihilate enters the field, immediately met with a Psychic Fangs that does big damage. He's gonna catch Psychic Fangs number 2, but even with this catch, it cannot save him. This core is just so devastating in proper alignment, and Rise takes the 2-0 victory to advance further in the tournament. The final set I'll be showcasing is the losers finals between Rise to the Occasion and Dunebug. They have played each other 8 times in the competitive Pokemon Go PvP circuit. Dune has 4 wins, Rise has 4 wins. This is a best of 5 series, but as you take a look at Dune's team, you may notice he has no counters to Steelix. So Steelix will be brought almost every game. Disastrous lead for Rise as he ends up leading Jumpluff into a Dugong. The safe switch into the Shadow Drapion unanswered by Dunebug. Dunebug is going to absorb the Crunch and then go for an Icy Wind bait. Rise is going to commit the shield, so now he is debuffed. Jumpluff hits the field. This is the double flying Jumpluff with Aerial Ace and Acrobatics. So Dune is bringing in the Jumpluff here intentionally, making the read that it's going to be Steelix in the back. And if it's Steelix, Jumpluff cannot do much. This is great anticipation by Rise, understanding that Dune would throw one before the Crunch, so he CMP ties with the Aqua Tail just to get a little bit of extra damage. Steelix now going to hit the field and go for so much farm. But as you look across this team of 6 for Dune, where is his Steelix answer? And unfortunately, it's a trick question. He does not have one. He's made it very far in this tournament. This is now top 3, but he had never faced a Steelix team up until now. And Steelix is going to be brought every single game in this series by Rise because it is just overwhelmingly unchecked. Aerial Ace into the Drapion is going to connect, dealing some very nice damage. Crunch is going to be reached, but due to the fact that Breaking Swipe got a debuff earlier, this Crunch will not knock out. There's a snipe. Dunebug with the Dugong doing what he can to fight back in this near impossible matchup. Icy Wind bait is going to be shielded by the Steelix. Steelix going for the Psychic Fangs. Dune knows that he has to shield here because he just has no health anywhere else. He tries to get the little damage that he can. Jumpluff should be able to make an Aerial Ace if I'm not mistaken, but even if it does, it's just not going to be enough to KO. Aerial Ace is going to be single resisted. The Steelix hangs on, it farms down the Drapion, and that's a game 1 win for Rise. And for Rise, you know, in game number 2, we're going to be seeing Steelix once again. Terrible lead for Rise, but he can save switch into the Steelix, and the Steelix just has so much neutral play here. Steelix firing off the Breaking Swipe. This is super effective damage, 50-50 chance at an attack drop, and we do actually see a drop, and that forces a switch out by Dune into the Drapion. Instant breaking swipe from the Steelix. Steelix this time not so lucky, no attack drop comes through, and that means the back-to-back Aqua Tails reached by this Drapion will actually be enough to pretty comfortably pick up the knockout. Rise is going to commit the shield. If he wants to, he can double shield and brute force switch advantage. However, switch advantage at the expense of 2 shields may honestly be a bit of a risk, because Shadow Drapion would not do the greatest without shields going up against Dewgong. We're actually going to see a switch out and a catch. So he does concede switch advantage, saving the Steelix, and Drapion will now immediately be met with back-to-back Dragon Claws. Dune actually going for an undercharge here. He does not want to KO the Drapion just yet, leaving it on 1 HP, and the crunch is not able to be reached. In comes Dewgong. Dewgong looking for a farm down. The crunch reached by the Guzzlord. That is going to connect. And this Dewgong does exit with quite a bit of energy, but at a pretty significant health disadvantage. But that's where saving the Steelix can come in clutch, because Steelix can now hit the field. Steelix applying a Psychic Fangs debuff, and Dune is going to commit the shield. So Dune shields up. Dune is going to look for the farm down, gets the farm down. Dune without a shield, he's forced to go for an Icy Wind. He needs to debuff the damage coming out of the Dewgong of Rise. Rise making it to the drill run, losing the CMP tie here. He is going to use the final shield. Dune still does have the very low health Drapion lurking in the back. This drill run is going to connect, and now it's going to be very, very close. Dunebug on 1 HP. Overcoming the odds, knocks out the Dewgong, and evens up the series 1 game apiece. For game 3, good lead for Rise. He's going to lead the Shadow Steelix into Fortress, and that will immediately force a switch out by Dune into the Drapion. Drapion Aqua Tail is going to land. That's some pretty significant damage, and now the Breaking Swipe will actually be shielded up by the Drapion. Drapion, no debuff comes through, so a bit of good luck goes Dunebug's way. Dunebug firing off another Aqua Tail and a second no shield by Rise. Rise knows the Drapion is 1 short, so now he gets to fire off this Breaking Swipe. We see a double shield from Dunebug. Dunebug selling out to try and win switch, and gets to do just that. In comes the Dewgong. Dewgong gets the Ice Shard through as the crunch is launched, and that does actually pick up the KO. In comes the Fortress. We see an aggressive switch to the Jump Bluff, because Jump Bluff can outpace getting to the Acrobatics. Acrobatics, massive damage onto the Fortress. Fortress is slow pacing, costing it an ability to get a crucial debuff before the Acrobatics landed. Now we're going to see a switch into Guzzlord. I mean, Dune had no other option. He couldn't afford to stay in with the Fortress. Acrobatics, even when debuffed, massive damage onto the Guzzlord. Acrobatics number 2 is reached, and Rise to the occasion. This Steelix just completely running away with games. He's going to get to the Aerial Ace. That's going to be a CMP tie. Fortress denying the move unless the final shield is used, but Rise still has the shield, so he's very happy to use it. KO with the Aerial Ace, and now moves 1 win away from victory in this series. And as we move into game 4, it's going to be Shadow Steelix into the Dewgong. The safe switch into the Shadow Drapion, and an Aqua Tail catch onto the Dewgong. Sensational stuff, as that catch really slows the roll of the Drapion. Drapion now in a bit of an uncomfortable position, where it would have loved to land the Aqua Tail onto the Steelix or a crunch onto the Dewgong, but now it got neither. Dunebug is going to no shield here, and unfortunately that does not leave him enough health to get to a crunch. It's just an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will not knock out. In comes the Dewgong. Rise immediately pivots out. He knows how safe Steelix is. Dunebug going for the debuff, and that's a stone cold bait call by Rise. Rise now at -1 attack, looking to apply the Psychic Fangs debuff onto the Dewgong. The next move will not knock out here, so not throwing is the correct play. Instead, you just want to try and farm down and exit with as much energy as you possibly can. The threat of a farm down forces Dunebug out into this Guzzlord. Guzzlord hit with the Breaking Swipe, and the energy saved on the Dewgong immediately comes in clutch. He's able to reset the attack drop on his Steelix, debuff the opposing Guzzlord, and now he's looking to be in a pretty great position. He can afford to just send back in the Steelix, fire off another Breaking Swipe and fish for another one of these 50-50 debuffs. Breaking Swipe is going to be shielded. We do not see a debuff come through this time. Crunch launched at the Steelix. Steelix is going to let this through, and Crunch will pick up the KO. So now it's all up to Shadow Drapion to try and close out this game. We are going to see a no shield on the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw, not a particularly high damage move. Crunch is reached. Guzzlord resists it. It will survive, but not by much. We're going to see a switch into the Dugong. Dugong now going to get knocked out with an Aqua Tail, and this is going to be Rise's series behind the strength of Golisopod and Steelix. These two battlers, SS Thorne and Rise, had dominant tournament runs. SS Thorne placing 4th at Vancouver, and Rise to the occasion, rose to the occasion, and won the Vancouver Regional Championships. Thank you so much for watching. One final note is that this core completely ran away with this limited time meta. As I mentioned, it won Fortaleza and got 1st and 4th in Vancouver. Once the rest of the Might and Mastery meta is allowed, which will be for the tournaments in these upcoming weeks, I do think the prevalence of this core will decrease, just due to the fact that the power level of all of these new buffed mons is very, very high. Pokemon like Lapras are going to be absolutely everywhere, and there's a lot of new strong contenders that could potentially break the core like Credilli. So this core had an incredibly cool week. I don't know if this success will continue competitively long term, but man, to me, I think moments in time like this are very, very cool, where we have a limited one-time meta halfway between last season, halfway between this season, and a couple battlers got it right. They made the correct predictions, and they were able to completely run away with victory in both of these tournaments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.